Hello, this is Stampy Longnose, and welcome to a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 gameplay commentary. This video is going to kind of serve as my first impressions video. I sort of did a first impressions video before. That was part of a live commentary series I did, and the gameplay in that was pretty awful. I did pretty bad, and because it was live commentary I couldn't really talk properly because I was concentrating a little bit more on playing rather than commentating. So it generally had a few 10-minute games of me wandering around, getting killed and going, oh for fuck's sake, then carrying on. And that was about as far as the commentary went, me just getting frustrated. But this is some gameplay taken. I really haven't played this game that much. After those first 5 or so free-for-all games I played, I probably played about 4 games of Domination, and that's about it. I got fed up and went and played Battlefield 3 instead. And yeah, so you might have already guessed by that. My first impressions are pretty negative about this game, and I don't know why. I don't know why I don't like this game. I mean, this might change. As I say, this is a first impressions video. I haven't played that much. Some of my opinions and some of the things that I think might change in time might be different to yours. But please don't hate me. This is me literally my very first. I've dipped my toe into Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, and I don't know, it didn't feel very nice. Excuse the awful metaphor. But yeah, why don't I like this game? One, I think it's just too familiar. It's just Call of Duty, again, nothing really new. Well, I mean, there are new things. They've added some perks and kill streaks, but that's just changing things. That's not really a big new thing they've added. Like, they've added a new game type and stuff, but it's just same game, just a new thing. There's no real big innovation in this game like we've seen in past Call of Duties. I'd say even, like, I found Black Ops just to be a bit of the same, and I got very bored of that pretty quickly. And that even added some good new stuff, like added like the COD points, it added wager matches, and it added the theatre mode was obviously a huge positive thing about that game. But even that I just found to be a bit too much of the same. But this is just ridiculous. I just feel like I'm playing Modern Warfare 2. Like, even like those cars that are in front of me, they're just the same from it. Just the way it moves, the way the guns shoot, it just feels a bit the same. And some of the changes they have made I don't even really like. It just feels a little bit more sluggish. You can't really wire your guns. It just, I don't know, it's just, here we go, another one. It just looks the same. Like, the HUD is pretty much identical, and it's just, I don't know, I just can't be arsed, you know. I don't want to play Modern Warfare 2. Like, I did play it, I played it a hell of a lot, and I got bored of it because I played it too much. I don't want another game which is pretty much the same. I don't want a map pack, and I think I'm probably being slightly harsh, to be honest. I mean, there obviously has been a lot of work that's gone into it, but I simply feel that they didn't have enough time to do it, because Infinity Ward got, like, crumbled so much after Modern Warfare 2. I mean, I'm assuming you know, but, like, the 2 head guys basically got fired after making Modern Warfare 2. After making the most successful entertainment launch in all time, they get fired by Activision. Then I think about 60 people now actually followed them and left Infinity Ward, and because of that they had to quickly bring in another company, Sledgehammer, to help build it, and they had to do this all within like a 2-year time frame, and it's just not enough time to make a game like this and make it as revolutionary and all the changes that they would need to make it that big step up. Because Infinity Ward, I found, has always been the game to really step up the franchise. And say what you want about Modern Warfare 2, with all its like balancing issues, it was a big step up from past Call of Duty games. I mean, Infinity Ward to me are the innovators, and Treyarch kind of, I don't know, they just make the other one, the game that comes after it. You know, it's the Call of Duty's little brother that kind of just comes after it to keep you interested for a little bit longer. Because you had the first Call of Duty, which was obviously a big one because it was the first ever one using the Quake-free engine, and it was kind of different to other World War II shooters, even though there was quite a lot, because it was a bit more, not gritty, but it was a bit more just about the squads. It wasn't about these big heroic moments, and that was much more about the actual soldiers in the battle, and that was why it was kind of different. It didn't have that much in the way of multiplayer and was PC only, so it's kind of a big audience didn't get to play it. But then they made Call of Duty 2, which kind of blew everything out the water. It was this massive hit, the first game on Xbox 360 to sell over 1 million copies, and that's what started the Call of Duty multiplayer as we know it today. Well, aspects of the Call of Duty multiplayer as we know it today. There's no custom classes, and there's no perks, no kill streaks, but in terms of the game types, the way you move and the aim, had like search and destroy and headquarters, some of the game types we know, it basically set up Call of Duty as being a strong multiplayer game. But then Treyarch brought out Call of Duty 3, and I don't know, that's a weird one, Call of Duty 3. It just seems different to all of the other Call of Duty games for some reason. And it did add like a lot of game mechanics which were kept in the Call of Duty franchise and kind of added on. It kind of started the idea of kill streaks, but like in a different sense. Like if you survived for a certain amount of time, you could call in artillery strikes and stuff like that. But it had vehicles in it, which was a bit weird. They didn't really work. They had like tanks and cars you could drive and little motorbike things. But the problem with that game is they didn't have long enough time to make it. They made it in less than a year. And if you think that Call of Duty games today take 2 years, well, just under 2 years to make, like making a game in less than a year basically didn't work. But I think they did a very good job considering the time frame. The campaign in particular was very good. I consider it to be an improvement over Call of Duty 2, even if not that many other people do. And so it wasn't an innovator, but then Call of Duty 4, the one that followed it, was obviously the thing that blew everything out of the water. That's the game that added the kill streaks, the custom classes, the perks, and it just, that added so much, and that came just a massive game selling like, I don't know, I think it sold, I don't know how many games. It still sells today. You can still buy it new online today, and people still do. And that is what I think many true Call of Duty fans, long-term Call of Duty fans, consider that to be the best Call of Duty. And I do still believe it to be the best Call of Duty game ever made. And I don't mean that as in the best Call of Duty game in its time. I think today, if you put all the Call of Duty games in a row, that would be the best one. It's the perfect balance of what Call of Duty used to be and what it has become. I think the campaign had these good shocking moments which we just don't get. I mean, even though they try and replicate these shocking moments, we kind of expect them now, but I don't want to ruin the moment in case you haven't played Call of Duty 4, but you probably know the moment I mean. It was kind of a big thing at the time, and that was the big innovative Call of Duty game for me. And then you got World at War afterwards, and it was a bit like, oh, okay, like it went back to World War II, and I don't know, it just took, it's innovative in the way that this game is innovative compared to Modern Warfare 2. It added new stuff in terms of it added some new perks and it put tanks back in, but it just kind of added things which were already there but just added them differently. It didn't add a system like perks, it added new perks. It didn't add like a new thing instead of kill streaks, it just added different kill streaks. You know, there was no innovation whatsoever, and it's kind of unfortunate that they started making that game before Call of Duty 4 was released, because I think if Call of Duty 4 was released, then they started making work on another Call of Duty game, I think they would have come up with something a lot better. And that's the problem with this staggered release of Call of Duty, with two different companies releasing them on alternative years, is they don't have much time to kind of learn from the other person's mistake. They're already spending a year making a game before they hear if anyone even liked the game that came before it, so they don't really know what to take from the game that came before it so well, and that is a big problem. So anyway, where are we? So we got to World at War, and then came in Modern Warfare 2, which was obviously the biggest entertainment launch when it was released, a huge deal, and it got a lot of hate for its balancing issues, noob tubes in particular, and there's a lot of bugs and glitches, and it wasn't very well supported post-launch, but it was innovative. It did add a lot of new things to Call of Duty, like just like an insane amount of new things. If you go back and look at all the stuff they changed, all their emblems and that, they added so much to that game, maybe too much, maybe they were slightly too ambitious, and it kind of just broke the game, kind of. They added too much stuff, it couldn't be balanced properly, and it kind of failed. But I say failed in a in a kind of loose way. I mean, it sold millions of copies and people still play it very regularly today, but it had a lot of issues, and the problem is after the game was released, the whole company kind of started collapsing in on itself, so they didn't really have the manpower or the time to really support it properly. People were moving on to making the next Call of Duty game, and the whole company was kind of falling apart. They didn't patch it properly, they didn't do balancing issues, which is something that Treyarch did with Black Ops. It was probably the first Call of Duty game where they actually changed just the strength of the guns and fire rates post-launch. Basically, after what happened with Modern Warfare 2, they didn't want it to happen again. And Black Ops is another game which wasn't very innovative. It added some stuff, it added theatre mode and wager matching stuff, but it still just felt like more Call of Duty, and I think that they needed Infinity Ward to do that next big step up. I think Modern Warfare 3 had to be what Infinity Ward had always brought, just the next level of Call of Duty, and I don't think they've done that. I think they've now gotten to a mode where they're happy to just tweak the gameplay and just add a small amount of things and change things slightly, and I think overall that's going to hurt Call of Duty. If they want to release one every year, there needs to be these big step up games, and if Infinity Ward isn't going to be doing it now, I don't know who is. So sorry I haven't really talked too much about impressions of this game. I've kind of done a brief history of Call of Duty, but I hope you did enjoy this gameplay. Cheers for watching, everybody, and I will see you later.